So our next talk is slightly different. It relates to what many consider to be one of the hottest and most important topics of our time, which is generative AI. Large language models like GPT-4 and ChatGPT have taken the world by storm. And OpenAI, the company that made those models, actually has a significant partnership with Microsoft, which is what makes our next speaker that much more relevant to the discussion of how generative AI will affect financial services and financial inclusion. So our next speaker is a lifelong software engineer and data scientist. She has remained very close to the fields of machine learning, and she remains an active CAGLer and AI researcher today. She is the Chief Technology Officer of Data for Microsoft. Please welcome to the stage Srimati Shikha Agrawal.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I have on the stage with me Bala Subramaniam, who leads the industry vertical for BFSI. So he will set the context and we'll take the presentation forward with certain words from him.
Very good afternoon, all of you. I think it's one of the exciting topics, as you might have seen that ChatGPT reached millions of users in just 2 months of time. Since then, we have been having unprecedented momentum and interest from the BFSI sector in the last couple of weeks. One of the key common things between ChatGPT and generative AI as well as the account aggregator is basically that, as we have been discussing since morning, account aggregator, the primary objective is basically to include or expand the financial inclusion, right? In terms of casting a wider net, serving the both underserved as well as unbanked customers, especially from an Indian market standpoint. Similarly, I think if you look at the generative AI and ChatGPT, basically expands and makes the AI inclusive to a large number of developers. I think that's one of the key commonality which I would like to emphasize upon, the key commonality between the OpenAI as well as the account aggregator ecosystem. So basically, with probably a low code or a no code, as well as with the simple prompts, we can have deep and insights from the huge amount of data store, which is either from the world out there or it could be personally be belonging to a specific sector. So with that, I think combination of generative as well as the predictive AI, which we have it in store right now, the possibilities are immense. In fact, if you have reached out to yesterday's Microsoft Build conference, our CEO Satya Nadella specifically called out a ChatGPT-based chatbot called Jugalbandi, which was actually released last year. Jugalbandi is basically an intelligent conversational chatbot, which is a combination of both generative AI as well as multiple Indian languages, which has been specifically addressed for serving government services, right? So it has been starting at government services, it's extended to legal and marketing and education services as well. And Shikha will talk us through in terms of how can we expand it further from a financial inclusion standpoint, specifically on financial service industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bala, for setting that context. So it has been my privilege to go through, the most energizing sessions throughout the morning. And as Bala mentioned, we are very, very excited and feel privileged to share insights around this tech innovation, which is being termed as the transformation, the most transformational innovation of the entire decade. And I will attempt to take the audience through some of the use cases, some of the scenarios wherein which are facilitated by generative AI, and how they can truly help in maximizing financial inclusion in a diverse country as ours. And we heard some of the thematics early on in the morning, whereas when we talk about creating those solutions for the end users, the fundamental aspects of those applications need to be very simple, frictionless, easy to use, instant, and really drive that equitable access to all. And that is something that technology today enables. Just to set the context, when we talk about AI, traditionally this complex diagram is what, we would sort of relate to. The moment when we talk about AI, we would talk about having a compute, compiling data for training the models, create a team of data scientists, and engage in a very iterative process to solve for one specific problem. And this thematic has completely changed with generative AI. So before I move any further, I just want to sort of check with the audience, how many of you have had a chance to interact with ChatGPT? All right, that's a phenomenal number, almost everyone. And it's no surprise that it took us just 5 days to reach 1 million user base, and that has been completely unprecedented. So that is really the paradigm shift. It is completely changing every aspect of our life, the way we work. It is introducing unprecedented productivities, and more importantly, it is changing the way we think of user experiences when we think about creating these applications, these experiences at citizen scale, at population scale. So today, these large language models have the ability to solve for multiple use cases. A single model is able to classify your data, is able to summarize your data, is able to understand user intent, is able to analyze your data. It is able to, of course, engage in creative writing, create poems and stories just for fun. But when it comes to really enabling those experiences for the end user in, say, account aggregator space, let me share with you certain insights around how this creates a dramatic shift and maximizes financial inclusion, which is really our core objective if we talk about account aggregator ecosystem. So, and before that, I just want to sort of highlight, early on in the session, we saw a lot of digital experiences, a lot of lending scenarios completed digitally. And AI has been nothing new. I mean, in all those experiences, we've been using a lot of AI capabilities that enable us to understand images, enable us to understand videos, enable us to understand our forms. And that's how we have been able to do eKYC, video KYC, and provide all those seamless digital experiences. So AI has been sort of all pervasive, and this sort of diagram that you see over here is just showing glimpses of, the comprehensive AI suite of tools that are available at our disposal to create those experiences for the end users. So if we look at some of the use cases, they can be primarily bucketed into 3 scenarios. So the first aspect, of course, we love to ask a question to ChatGPT, and usually, most of the times, it does come up with an answer which really surprises us. But if we look at, say, account aggregator ecosystem, right? And there are people living in rural areas. And one of the challenges that we face is, how do we create awareness around the benefits that are available to them via this ecosystem? And this is just one scenario. There are many, many scenarios wherein we want to use our own knowledge base and create an information retrieval system that enables users to understand, get answers to their queries in the language of their choice. So we may have a knowledge base in English language, but the person living in rural area, he understands maybe Tamil, Telugu, or Marathi for that matter. And we want to really enable that person to understand more about the system or about any other aspect. So the key, the knowledge base is really our own. And so that is the first set of use cases, and I have a demo around that. The second set of use cases are around analytics. So when we talk about these conversations, when we talk about this massive amount of data that any financial institution has to really analyze, with the power of ChatGPT, you can go way beyond sentiment analysis. You can, as you're conversing with a customer, right, customer might say, so just as an example, a citizen may have taken a loan and he is not able to make the payment. And so as you reach out to the citizen why he has not made the payment, he may say, मेरी फसल खराब हो गई, right? And now, with the power of ChatGPT, right, you can actually understand what is he saying, and that can be an automated process. On top of that, you can actually pull out news information which might be there in your database and figure out, yes, there is a certain problem in that area. And so now this calls for a more humane approach to deal with this situation and make sure that, we can really serve the purpose and help the humanity. So that is the second set of use cases. And of course, content generation. So with ChatGPT, we now have the ability to not only understand the intent behind various conversation, we can create workflows when we pull out data specific to that particular conversation and combine that with what is being discussed in real time to generate an automated response and thereby driving unprecedented efficiencies. And I'll attempt to make this more clear with the example of certain demos. So let me move further. So I'll skip this architecture and try to go right to the demos.
So let's get started with this demo around information retrieval systems. So the objective is to really use the capabilities of OpenAI to enable the end users get answers from a knowledge base that we want to define. So here as a knowledge base, we have 3 documents. So the first document is data empowerment and protection architecture document. The second document is the consent framework document from METI. And the third document is the use case document for account aggregator framework. And so now we want to be able to get answers to questions based off this particular knowledge base. So as a first question, let us say I want to understand as a small business owner, what financial services can I get in AA framework? So let me fire this query. And now as this query is fired, it is the first thing that is being done is it is going to cognitive search, which is then finding the relevant documents, which are then serving as a knowledge base to OpenAI to generate this particular response. So as a small business owner, you can get financial information services in the account aggregator framework with your consent to a financial information user. The use cases for account aggregator ecosystem, including lending, wealth management, personal finance management apps, robo-advisory, and reconciliation of accounts. However, exact services will depend on certain things as we can imagine. So let's say I say, can you list a comprehensive list of services that I can get in AA framework. As you can imagine, the response is now coming in a fashion similar to how it came in the earlier query. And so now I have this complete list of services that are available to me. And Also, I can see the thought process that was used here. So, what was the question, how the prompt was generated, what was the sources used, were there any supporting content. Of course, the citations give information about the actual content that served as the knowledge base. Now, moving on to the next question, let's try to get information around the data that is used in account aggregator framework to deliver services. And let us see what answers we get this time. So it says the account aggregator framework allows for sharing information about bank, insurance, pension, securities, and eventually income tax and GST data with user content. And if we look at the data source here, and let us say I try to search for GST over here, if I can find that. Um, so let us see if GST is over here. Yes. So here we see that this particular information is shared here, which is like securely shared bank, insurance, pension, etc. Now, such a solution becomes highly trustworthy with really grounding of the response. So now let's look at the final example wherein I am an FIU and how can account aggregator benefit an FIU? Um, so let us see what answer I get over here. So it says, as a financial information user, you can benefit from the account aggregator ecosystem in several ways. AAs provide a secure and efficient way to access and share your customers' financial data, which can help you to streamline your lending, wealth management, personal finance, robo-advisory, and account reconciliation processes. It can also enable you to access better credit products for individuals and MSMEs. A fantastic response.
Right. So this was just an example, but you get the
So let's
idea.
get started with this demo around information retrieval systems.
So now I'm sharing another demo wherein there is going to be a conversation in Hindi language. And the idea is somebody is, let's say, looking for lending and how with generative AI and a combination of speech language models, we can completely alter the user experience.
So the objective is to really use the capabilities of OpenAI to enable the end users get answers from a knowledge base that we want to define. So here for as a
Sorry.
knowledge base, we have 3 documents. So the first are available to me.
Sorry,
And
let me try to go to the next slide here. Sorry about that.
are available to me. And perfect. So let's get started with this demo wherein we're trying to use a combination of speech services and OpenAI to create voice-based experiences for end users. So in this case, we are simulating a conversation between somebody who's interested in borrowing and a lending company representative. So we are using AI bot to collect certain information about the borrower as he follows the set protocol, which is like keep the conversation always polite, never guide the person towards any specific products, etc. So now let's get started. मुझे एक लोन की आवश्यकता है। मेरा वीविंग का बिजनेस है और मैं उसके लिए करीब 10 लाख रुपए का लोन चाहती हूँ।
हाय वहाँ, मेरा नाम एआई बॉट है। मैं ऋण आवेदन प्रक्रिया में आपकी सहायता करने के लिए यहाँ हूँ। शुरू करने के लिए क्या आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि आपका वर्तमान पेशा क्या है और आपकी सकल वार्षिक बिक्री बटा कारोबार क्या है? इसके अलावा आप इस व्यवसाय में कितने साल से हैं?
जैसा कि मैंने बताया, मेरा वीविंग का बिजनेस है, कपड़ों का बिजनेस है और मैं इस व्यवसाय में बहुत सालों से हूँ। ये हमारा पुश्तैनी कारोबार है और हमारी वार्षिक आय तकरीबन 20 लाख रुपए सालाना है।
ठीक है, जानकारी के लिए धन्यवाद। अब क्या आप कृपया मुझे अपने निवास का वर्तमान शहर बता सकते हैं? इसके अलावा क्या आप खाता एग्रीगेटर प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से अपना डेटा साझा करना चाहते हैं ताकि मैं रिकॉर्ड की जांच कर सकूं?
मैं अहमदाबाद में रहती हूँ और हाँ, मुझे डेटा शेयर करने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। आप प्लीज़ मेरा डेटा ले सकते हैं अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से।
बिल्कुल, मुझे ऐसा करने में खुशी होगी। कृपया मुझे अपना केवाईसी विवरण प्रदान करें। मैं आपकी पहचान को सत्यापित करने के लिए उनका उपयोग करूंगा और फिर डेटा साझाकरण के साथ आगे बढ़ूंगा। अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर प्लेटफॉर्म से डेटा खींचने के बाद अगर मैं देखता हूं कि आपके बैंक खाते में कोई जीएसटी रिटर्न या लेन देन नहीं है, तो आपका अगला कदम क्या होगा?
आप एक बार डेटा लेके देखिए, फिर हम आगे डिसाइड करते हैं कि क्या होगा।
पक्का। मैं बस ऐसी स्थिति में आपकी कार्य योजना का एहसास करना चाहता था। हालांकि मैं सुझाव देना चाहता हूं कि यदि आप कर दाखिल करते हैं, तो आप बेहतर ब्याज दरों पर ऋण प्राप्त करने में सक्षम हो सकते हैं। कृपया इस पर विचार करें क्योंकि यह लंबे समय में आपके लिए फायदेमंद हो सकता है। क्या कुछ और है जो मैं आपकी मदद कर सकता हूं?
Sure. So hope these demos gave you glimpses of what is possible today with generative AI. And these are just example use cases. You are only limited by your own imagination to use this technology to create user experiences that really drive financial inclusion. And with that, I want to emphasize just one last thing, that any technology can be boon or a bane. And so it is important to use the technology responsibly for the larger good of the humanity. And with that, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for yet another exhilarating and informative session. This time understanding how generative AI can be used to power natural language interfaces that span content generation, information retrieval, and semantic search. Once again, we'd like to offer a token of thanks to Ms. Shikha Agrawal and Mr. Balasubramaniam from Microsoft. So please put your hands together for them.